Okay, this is Unit 8, Testing and Individual Differences. This is Unit 11 in the Myers textbook. Most of the information on this presentation can be found on page 522 to 532. This is the first video of this unit, and it's going to cover assignments 1, 2, and 3 in your packet, or pages 3, 4, 5, and the top of page 6 in your packet. So, big ideas that are going to be discussed in video 1 is how should we define intelligence? Number 2, understand the difference between the historical perspective, how is intelligence, how it used to be viewed, versus how is intelligence viewed today, contemporary. We'll talk about Spearman, Thurstone, Gardner, Sternberg, and Goleman, all of which have influenced the development of IQ and what we believe IQ is today and the historical perspective. So a big idea with intelligence is it's very controversial. How should we define intelligence? A term that is used frequently but is very often misunderstood is intelligence. What does it mean to be intelligent? If you're a good reader and you could answer questions at the end of the text, does that mean and you get them all right, does that mean you're intelligent? Okay, if you have a photographic memory and you can memorize anything, does that mean that you're very intelligent? Many people disagree about what exactly intelligence is, but most do agree that it is relative. It's defined in relation to the same ability in a comparison group. So you're defining it where you have the same abilities between different age groups. And then another thing that they agree on is culture designs what you believe to be important as intelligence. In the United States, we view doing very well on tests and having high test scores as maybe a view of, yes, you're smart. In other countries, whether or not you're able to defend yourself and protect yourself and have basic survival skills, that might be seeing somebody in a tribe that's very intelligent. So first, let's get an understanding of what intelligence is. Myers states intelligence is the ability to learn from experience, solve problems, and use knowledge to adapt to new experiences. Intelligence tests are a method used to assess an individual's mental aptitude and to compare it to others. So it looks at your score and compares it to others that are your age, maybe others that are older. Okay, so a big reason why intelligence became really important was based off of the military. They began to try and figure out who can perform certain skills. If you can perform a certain skill, okay, then maybe we'll allow you to go and fight because you need to be able to read a map in order to protect yourself. So one of the first earliest views was by Charles Spearman. His is known as the more historical view because it's the older view. He was born in 1863 and he died in 1945. Okay, he believed we had one general intelligence, okay, which was known as the G factor. Okay, he granted that people often have specific abilities that stand out. You have specific abilities of understanding, reasoning, and problem solving. Okay, you have this general intelligence. He used what was known as the factor analysis, which was a statistical procedure that IDs clusters of related items. He noted that those who score high in one area, such as verbal, typically score higher than average in other areas, such as reasoning ability. Okay, Spearman believed a common skill set, the G factor, underlies all our intelligent behavior. Okay, so if you're good, let's say, at one skill, such as you're really good at comprehending text, you'd also be able to have a really good verbal language, and you also might be able to understand the definition and be able to spell it. If you're high in one area, okay, you're going to be high in the other area, and that's known as the G factor. Okay, you have a general intelligence. Okay, if you're bad in one area, like you don't have verbal ability, okay, you might not also be able to have that high ability of comprehension. Right? He used the factor analysis in order to figure out whether or not your score, let's say. He thought that success in one area, such as solving problems, would translate to other areas, such as reasoning ability. Okay, which we looked at, which was the problem-solving unit, which was Unit 6. Okay. Another person with a historical view was L.L. Thurstone. Okay, he was born in 1887 and died in 1955. Okay, this idea that we have heard from Spearman, that we have a general mental capacity expressed by a single intelligence score, was very controversial. Okay, and Thurstone said, no, I don't think we have just one intelligence. He started out stating that we have he gave 56 different tests to people and mathematically identified 7 clusters of primary mental abilities. He believed that we aren't just intelligent in one area, we have 7 different areas, okay, that we could be falling under. He believed people mastered various traits and struggled in other areas. The 7 different categories are listed as word fluency, verbal comprehension, spatial ability, perceptual speed, numerical ability, reasoning, and memory. Okay. Correlations proved, however, similar category clustered together, such as speed and coordination. So some of the categories correlated similarly. Okay, so maybe word fluency and verbal comprehension. Maybe those were 2 areas that correlated together, and then maybe in other areas they didn't represent as high. Okay. So for about 100 years, people really looked at the historical perspective, specifically in Europe and in the United States, on how to describe somebody as intelligent. They looked at areas of mental reasoning, memory, verbal ability, and spatial recognition, and the list went on, okay, to Thurstone's 7 areas, all right? But people began to question, is that the only way people can be intelligent is just by basically being able to read something and comprehend it, or having being able to verbally explain yourself? What about the other areas, such as people who have a physical ability or are really creative? If you're really creative, sometimes you're not as quick to answer mental equations, but does that mean that you're not smart? In the 1980s, people began to question this idea. And you're going to see 2 more contemporary psychologists pop up, and this is where you have Gardner and you also have Sternberg, are 2 names that you should pay attention to for contemporary psychologists. Okay, so the first theory of intelligence in the more contemporary perspective was Howard Gardner. He came out with his theory in 1983. He believed that IQ scores measure only a limited range of human mental abilities. He argued that we have 8 separate mental abilities, and which he calls the multiple intelligences. Many people today still use this theory and believe that many people have different ways of learning, which we will explore more in class. Okay, the 8 different multiple intelligences are linguistic intelligence. Okay, you're really good maybe in terms of your vocabulary is very extensive. You may be able to speak really well multiple different languages. Logistical and mathematical intelligence, you're really good at understanding numbers and reasoning. Spatial intelligences, you might be able to, not only are you maybe artistic, but you're able to understand a floor plan or a floor design. You're able to maybe chart something out. You're really good at understanding how far apart things may go. I always think of an architect for that one. Bodily kinesthetic, you're really good in terms of your physical ability. Musical intelligences, you're really talented in the arts of music, whether you can play it, sing. Interpersonal skills, versus intrapersonal skills. Interpersonal skills is you're really good at communicating with others. Okay, You're very people smart, they classify it. Versus intra, you're very good, maybe you're very quiet and you're self-reflective and you're really good at understanding who you are as a person. You have your naturalistic person or your naturist. This is somebody who is like an environmentalist. Here is the 8 different perspectives and a nice little picture to help you understand each one. There is an additional one that your book does not talk about, which is at the top of this page, which is an existentialist, which is a new multiple intelligence that Gardner believes people have. This is somebody who is maybe a really good deep thinker. It kind of takes the intrapersonal a little bit deeper. You're a philosopher. You're a person that likes to question why. Okay, make sure you jot down all the different intelligences. Make sure you're able to understand maybe a specific job that you could hold in those different levels. Okay, so maybe you want to pause it and jot them down on page 4. Okay. Another contemporary psychologist is Robert Sternberg. Okay, he doesn't believe that we have one level of intelligence. He actually believes that in the triartic theory of intelligence, where we have 3 different levels of intelligence. One, okay, we have an area of the analytical area, which is assessed by intelligence tests. Okay, it breaks down major problems. You could analyze things. All right, you may be really good at comprehending. You have a really strong general intelligence. We all have this area of the analytical perspective. We also have an area of creativity. Okay, how creative are we? This category could be really high or really low. You're able to come up with new solutions. You're able to think outside the box, or maybe you're on the other end of the spectrum. Okay, you like the answer. You don't like to think outside the box. Right? You don't necessarily like to come up with new solutions. You like the old way, the routine way. And then practical. This is required for everyday tasks. Okay, this is just that you're able to, you may have multiple solutions. You're seen as in management, business situations. You're able to manage people. Okay, you can think in terms of reality of what's really taking place. Sternberg thought that Howard Gardner had too many multiple intelligences, and he said that you can classify, you know, some of the intelligence can be grouped together under the analytical perspective. Some of them can be grouped together under the creative perspective, and then some of them can be grouped under the practical. He believes in the 3 different areas. You can be high in analytical, low in creativity, and kind of subpar in practical. Everybody has a different score. Okay, the last one we're going to talk about is Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence. He believes that people also have an emotional intelligence, which you are able to respond to others. He believes the 4 areas of emotional intelligence are: can you perceive emotions? Can you recognize other people's facial expressions? Okay, you know what they're thinking. You understand emotions, and you're able to fit in or adjust. If somebody is in a really bad mood, maybe you're not going to go tell a joke. You're able to understand what's going on at that point in time. The look on their faces for perceiving their emotions seems sad. Right? And then you're able to manage your emotions. You know how to express yourselves, or maybe you can delay self-gratification. You're not going to scream and shout at other people. You're able to maybe state, I'm not feeling comfortable in this situation. Please stop. Okay. And then the last one, you're able to use it and you adapt your emotions. Maybe you're really creative. So we're going to take an emotional intelligence test in class, and you'll be able to see how emotionally intelligent are you. I think somebody that's very emotionally intelligent is our President Barack Obama. Okay, another emotionally intelligent person maybe is somebody who is in our environment, maybe Mr. Markey. Okay, he's able to understand what students are thinking. He's able to manage his emotions. He's able to use his emotions to communicate with others. Okay, I would jot down and make sure you understand on the top of page 5, maybe freeze it, and write down the different theories of intelligence. You have Spearman's and Thurstone's, which were the historical. You have Gardner and Sternberg, which were the more contemporary, along with, if you want to add a 5th column, which was Goleman, which is emotional intelligence. Make sure you know the strengths. Make sure you know other considerations to think about with each of these theories.